There he is. It's a New York City kid sitting high on his perch.
Hey, Andy.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. It's finally here. It's
Wow, it's like
finally here.
I was thinking it's like Christmas is coming Friday for us college football fans, or maybe Hanukkah. I don't know what the days are of Hanukkah if you're Jewish, but yeah, Friday's it, man. Already. It's
It
here.
is, and it's been a long-awaited day, and it's been a great season. And I think this is just going to be the culmination, or just the start of the culmination of
Yeah.
of what it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe. We got this. When did the news rolled out? I don't know, maybe a month or so after after last season ended, that they were officially moving to a 12-team playoff, and then all kinds of speculation of what that was going to look like, and of course predictions, and then the season had to play out. But it really is amazing how quickly this season went by, and we're on the doorstep, man, of the first 12-team playoff game kicking off Friday night.
It is, and the season ended, and everything is just happening so quickly. Whether it's the coaching carousel, the transfer portal, everything is kicking in, Andy.
Yeah, the thing, we'll talk about this. So again, welcome back to the listeners or listener. May be the case, but we're glad you're back for another week. This is week 17, show 18 for us. Hard to believe we got that many under our belt, but yeah, we'll talk about, we got a number of topics on the show today. We're going to talk a little Army-Navy recap here. We'll delve into that experience that I was fortunate enough to have in person. We'll talk about the game, and then our hot topics. We'll talk about the controversial, depending on what side of the table you're sitting, controversial Heisman choice, and some of the other award winners, and then the coaching carousel and the open positions. But the thing I just can't wrap my head around the fact that this stuff is already like in the last 48 hours, maybe in the last 72, but coaching announcements, players entering the transfer portal, it's just unbelievable, man. I mean, you'd think there'd be some parameters, particularly on the player movement, but I think it was Saban said, they interviewed him, and he said this, until they fix this, it's going to be like free agency every single year for every player.
It's the timing, Andy.
I know.
You're ruining the bowls, and now you're ruining the playoffs. The backup quarterback for Penn State that has played I don't want to say an integral piece.
Yeah.
You know what? He brought them back in the Wisconsin game.
That's right. I was going to say, he stepped in the Wisconsin game.
Yeah, right. He grew up wanting to be a Penn State Nittany Lion. He recognized his dream. They're chasing a championship, and now, in order for him to get a job next year, because Drew Allers has already said he's coming back, he has to leave the team today.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I just can't believe some of these names, man. Hudson from USC going to Penn State. Top receiver for USC is, he announced today or yesterday, he's going to end up at Penn State. Williams.
Ryan Williams, my guy from Dandy. Where's he going?
He's leaving Alabama. Like, it's bonkers to me, man. It just is, I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out, but it definitely seems to be a lot of, certainly money is playing a factor, and a lot of youth. The grass is greener. I'm going to go win a title. But there's just so many variables that, as we've seen this year, that go into winning a national title or making the playoff. And a lot of those are not in your control as a player.
Andy, I hope we don't see this NBA effect where you're going to have these super teams.
Yeah. Well, the NBA, let's certainly hope not, because apparently, according to statistics, NBA viewership's down 60% year on year of the last 2 years. So yeah, let's certainly hope this college football doesn't follow that same trend. But anyways, we'll get into those topics. But first, we're going to start with a little recap of America's game. I think probably the greatest game played all year, but Army Navy. What an experience, Mark. Once, although for me, I guess third year, but once in a lifetime for many, and it was incredible. Just an incredible atmosphere, and had to love the outcome.
So a shocker, to say the least, because what was it, a 14-point dog?
No, I think it was. I thought it was only. It was either 6.5 or 7 by game time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the environment, because obviously it had all the pomp and circumstances of America's game, but you were in a very unique environment. The President of the United States, his cabinet, dignitaries, a local New York City hero joined in the fray.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what you were seeing, the crowd, your experience. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So it just so for listeners, if you have not been to an Army Navy game, and you're a college football lover or passionate fan like Mark and I are, it's definitely a bucket list game. And you know this, Mark, from attending last year with me and a couple other folks at Gillette Stadium up there in Foxborough. But the things that stand out to me, one are, and I was talking to some guys at the gym Monday morning, and they had asked about it, and one of the guys was he's like, why is it such a big deal? Why is it such a big deal? And there's the pageantry and certainly everything that I think you and I love about America, and my hope is a lot of that esprit de corps and rallying around the flag and defending our country and the broader scale of things. I'm hoping that is taking a turn and finding its way back, as opposed to bashing, and everywhere you turn somebody's telling America and telling us how terrible. And those are our own people, not critics from the outside. But everything that those young men and women stand for on both sides of the ball and in the stands is just everything that excellence is defined as. So, and the fact they're all there for the same reason, right? I mean, they've all signed up and they're committed to defend our freedoms and defend our country. And meanwhile, they're attending top level academic institution, becoming expert, I guess, transforming themselves into warriors, playing a sport like football. So just, kind of all around. But one big thing is just like a lot of like at these playoff games coming up this weekend, you'll have tailgating. We were tailgating. We had a good time with everybody. There were, Army, Navy fans all around, mixed about, walking in. People had been tailgating for hours, had been consuming adult beverages, were excited about the game. But on the way in, during the game, and on the way out, I didn't hear a single critique, sarcastic or taunting comment from anybody about the other side. Like everybody just, I don't know, it's just really strange. And at these playoff games coming up this weekend, undoubtedly there will be screaming and yelling before, taunting, name calling, and after the results. Those that have the losing colors on will be subject to, potentially quote unquote friendly insults, but they'll just be that tension, right? And most of it's in good fun, but you just don't really see that or hear that. And again, same thing regardless of the outcome. Like it's a competitive football game. It's as loud and as energetic as any environment, SEC game, any of them. And when it's over, the winners celebrate, the losers are upset, but like this higher order, this higher purpose cascades across the game. So that to me is like, that's the biggest difference between this and any other college football game. And then of course the pageantry with the flyovers and all the dignitaries, and it is really awe-inspiring is how I'd say it, the experience. And it's, from start to finish, it's not just at the beginning, but throughout the entire game. And granted, in this case, the Army sideline and the fans they started to vacate in the fourth quarter there, but still, certainly the Corps of Cadets or the Brigade of Midshipmen, they're all in full attendance until the very end, obviously. And then a lot of, majority of the folks stick around just to see kind of the post-game celebration. So that's how I'd kind of recap it, Mark.
So, Andy, I guess the surprise was Navy's offense and how they were dominant over a very good defense, and Army just couldn't get going on the rushing side of the ball. I mean, Navy played a great game on both sides of the ball. So, I mean, break it down for me. Obviously, Horvath had a hell of a game.
Yeah, you can see that if you're watching, if you can see the screen, I would say, both sides played incredible, but it was the defense that was a difference maker. They shut down Daly. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't run. I think he had 3 picks, 3 interceptions overall, and at least 2 of those turned into points. So they just locked down, that defense just locked down the Army offense, and they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. And that to me was a big, now it helps that, the head coach at Navy this is his first full year as a head coach, but he was defensive coordinator prior to taking that role. And he's been there 6 years, so he knows this rivalry in the matchup. But having a defensive minded head coach, you saw that. But yeah, their offense, it was just from the first drive, right? I don't know if you remember, the opening kickoff, Army first play of the game, kickoff, they kicked it out of bounds, right? Which is in a 15-yard penalty, which was a big advantage. And, those of us that were in the stands that know college football were cheering and excited about it. And most others around us couldn't quite understand why we're cheering for him, for the guy kicking the ball out of bounds. But, it gives an extra 15 yards. And, the fact that Navy drove down the field and scored on that first drive to me was a statement. And then, they led the entire game. It was never tied, or they were never behind. And I was a little cautious going into the half because I thought, a 1-score game, Army's offense has been explosive enough that it's just one play away from tying it up. And if they would have scored kind of 14 unanswered, then you really have to wonder about kind of the confidence and resolve of Navy if they would have then, kind of picked momentum back up. But, they didn't, and Navy just never let up. And it was a pretty dominant performance. So I would say to me that the defense was the difference maker, because that offense for Army, and particularly Daly, the QB, scored 29 regular season touchdowns, and he couldn't move the ball. They couldn't do anything, and then Horvath and that crew on the offensive end, Horvath again was outstanding. He had a heck of a game. So it was exciting to see, man. The place just erupted, and it was nice. The last 2 years, Army's won. And they've been exciting games too. You went to one last year where it was goal line stand. And then 2 years ago in Philly, Army won in double overtime on a goal line turnover by Navy. So, the last 2 years have been exciting games. It's just been, Army's won, and this year, we'll say the right side won this year.
I think it was a fitting revenge game. They played well. They deserved to win. And I'm glad you had a great experience. So hopefully maybe we can share in that next year.
Yeah. Next year it's at Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. So, yeah, we'll see. Horvath is only a junior. He's back next year. So, the other interesting thing before we transition to kind of the hot topics for the week, but there was something I saw on a feed today, but it was a comment on, the head coach for Navy commented saying he has the best job in the world. And again, there's some more dynamics in football, but for all of those head coaches for both men and women's sports, I think at any of these academies, it is one of the best jobs you can have if you, depending on your perspective, right? Like if you're not looking to become perhaps Saban-esque or be at a program that's super high profile that has all these, donors and boosters and, like a Bama, like a Texas, et cetera. That takes a certain level of ego, I think, to strive and go after those jobs. Whereas at the academies, it's a little less so. It's a bit more selfless, but you're just dealing with men and women that are upstanding, respectful, are going to class. They're not getting into trouble outside of class. They don't have time to really get in trouble outside of class. So it's just and you don't have, there's no NIL, there's no transfer portal. You just don't have to deal with a lot of these other things. And that's what that comment was, is the head coach says he has the best job in the world, and it laid out some of these other factors and things that he just doesn't have to deal with, Now, you don't get the level of talent. There are size requirements at all the academies and height and weight, and so you are restricted on the types of athletes you get in, but you just don't have to deal with a lot of the BS that these other schools and programs are having to deal with. So anyhow, that's Army Navy 2024 Roll Goats hammered the Black Knights. So good outcome. But we're going to transition now to hot topics, and we are going to be right back with probably a bit of a debate on the Heisman winner, and then Mark's going to talk to us about some of the other big annual season award winners, and then we'll get into the coaching carousel and some of the positions that are open before we hit our picks for round one of the playoff. So stay tuned, folks. We will be right back. Heisman 2024. Stolen from my boy Genty.
Andy,
come on, man.
I told you, Andy, and you didn't want to listen to me.
Yeah.
I said it wasn't a choice. I knew he'd win. Now, it was close. I heard that this was the closest one since 2009. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was about, what was it? I think it was, I was surprised. We talked about this in last week's episode, and we counted down. We did the top 5 closest Heismans, and number 5 was like a 61-point difference. This one was actually, I think it was about 150. I think total points for Hunter, I want to say it was like 2287, and Genty was 21 something. So I thought it was around 150 delta. I thought it'd be a lot closer than that, but I would say based on history that he won convincingly. I mean, he didn't dominate the votes, but he was a clear winner. But I just can't get past it, man. The most outstanding football player in the season. He was not. I sent you the stats. He was like 6th in receiving, 4th in INTs. The only thing he was 1st in is the number of snaps he played.
Yep.
Since when did that become a college stat and a Heisman stat? That's the part that, I don't know. Everybody's listening to me whinge and moan, but I thought, and I did think, I think we texted on this, but didn't Genty, he win the Maxwell?
I believe he did not win the Maxwell. He did. I think he did win the Maxwell.
He won the Maxwell. And when that was announced, I thought, yeah, I'm not sure. Now, which I didn't know this, but I saw on, again, another feed that the last 5 Heisman running back award winners also were Maxwell Award winners.
I had said to you the Maxwell Award is a very good indication of who will win the Heisman because basically it's the Player of the Year award.
Yeah.
And I was a little concerned that morning, but I kind of felt that, like I said, they would vote for the best athlete, for the most dynamic player from a talent perspective, not from having the best season statistically. Because if that was the case, hands down, your boy would have won.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last Heisman winner that won the Maxwell and the Heisman, at least running back, was Henry in 2015.
And he won a few, right? He won the Maxwell Award, which is the College Player of the Year. And then he won the Doak Walker Award, obviously, for the best running back.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't know this, though, either. I mean, I'm sure our diehard fans or stat junkies out there know this, but in the last, 11 years, 10 years, out of those years, there's only been, this is for the Maxwell, but there's only been 2 running backs, and that's been Genty and Henry. And of the remaining winners, all the rest are QBs, but 1 wide receiver. You know who that wide receiver was that won the Maxwell?
Desmond Howard. How many years ago?
2020. So in the last 10 years, so from 2015 to 2024, there's been 10 Maxwell Award winners. 2 of those have been running backs. All the rest but 1 have been quarterbacks. Who's the lone wide receiver to win the Maxwell Award in the last 10 years? 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
2020. That would make him in the NFL 4 years.
Yep.
Jamar Chase?
Nope.
No.
Devontae Smith.
Oh my God! And he won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
For Alabama.
Yeah. It's 2 Bama guys back to back. Bryce Young won it, the Maxwell, and then the Heisman in 21. So, but
is it most Heisman Trophy winners, or is it Notre Dame?
What's that? Oh, the most
Heisman Trophy winners: USC, Alabama, or Notre Dame? SC.
Let's see. Yep, Trojans. How many do they have?
8.
Yeah, that's right, man. Spot on. Who are the next 3? There's a 3-way tie for second.
I think it's Notre Dame and Alabama.
No, Bama's actually 5th. They only have 4. So Notre Dame, you're right. Then you got the Buckeyes and you got Oklahoma. Yeah.
Oklahoma had a bunch of running backs and they had a bunch of quarterbacks. They had back-to-back quarterbacks a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And the only player to have won the Heisman twice is
Archie Griffin, man. He from Ohio State.
That's right. Number 45.
He never made it, man. He never made it in the NFL, and he was arguably the best college player of all time.
I know. That's what would be really interesting with just the any of these players, but it'll be interesting to see what Genty does at the next level, and Hunter too. And particularly Hunter, where do they play the guy?
Yeah. We shall see, and I'm sure we will do a draft show, and we'll be on other shows.
Yeah, that's right. How about some other big-time award winners?
So, Andy, if you take a look, and I love the college football awards. I mean, to me, it's the culmination of the season from an individual standpoint.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Heisman Trophy winner went to Travis Hunter. He won the AP Player of the Year. So that was number 2. Mm-hmm. Number 3 award, he won the Biletnikoff.
Yeah.
Then he won
that was a bit controversial. I don't know if you saw that, but
the best receiver.
Yeah. Did you see the guy from San Jose State, man, was a Triple Crown winner. He led in all 3 categories, and yet he didn't win the award. That was I saw that and I was like, Wow, that is a bit of a rob there.
Well, a lot of it is who is popular, and that could play into it. The Bronco Nagurski Award, which is the best defensive end. We've said all year long, South Carolina just had a great year, and Kyle Kennard, going to be a first-round pick. He
Yeah.
was the winner. They actually, Andy, I didn't know this. They created a top walk-on award,
Oh, really?
and it goes to the linebacker Bryce Bachcher over at Oregon. And we know Oregon had a great defense this year, and he was a walk-on, and he was awarded, which is a great thing. The
Yeah.
Butkus Award is really historically the one where you get the best defensive player or the best linebacker. And I had said to you all along, and last week in particular, when Georgia beat Texas, that Jalen Walker, he just blew Texas up by himself.
Yeah. He dominated.
And so he was the Butkus Award winner. The third big award that Hunter won was the Chuck Bednarik Award,
Yeah.
the best defensive player.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure he was the best defensive player, to your point.
Yeah.
The guy from Texas, Hill, was great. Jalen Walker from Georgia was great.
Yeah.
I got news for you. Davey O'Brien Award went to Cam Ward, which Cam Ward had a great season.
Yeah. This guy from San Jose State, Nick Nash. So for the season, he led the country in receptions with 104, led the country in receiving yards with 1382, and receiving touchdowns with 16. Fourth player ever to achieve the receiving Triple Crown. That seems worthy of the Biletnikoff.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Like, man, what else you got to do?
Yeah. So your boy Genty won the Doak Walker, which he was hands down the top running back.
For sure, yeah.
Let me ask you something. How come we have 3 Coach of the Year awards? The Eddie Robinson Award, which I always thought that was the Coach of the Year, but it says here it was a TBA, and I don't think they've announced it yet. You can look that up for our listeners, the Eddie Robinson Award. Then there's the George Munger Award.
Yeah, so there's 9 finalists selected for Eddie Robinson.
Okay.
And let's see. You got Beamer, South Carolina, Signetti, Indiana, Danielson, Boise State, Dillingham, Arizona, basically all the playoff coaches. So other than Munkin from Army was a lone non-CFP team head coach. I'm just trying to see when presentation, the official, so the recipient will be announced tomorrow.
Okay.
And then the presentation is on the 18th of January in Atlanta at the National Championship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And who is this George Munger Coach of the Year Award? I never heard of him.
The George Munger Award, established in 1989, presented to the College Coach of the Year is what it says. 89, let's see, sports most outstanding coach, recognizes exceptional leadership, strategic innovation, significant impact on the game, it's named in tribute to Munger, a respected figure in college football known for his influential coaching career. Served as a head coach at University of Penn from 1938 to 1953.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that will be awarded when, Andy?
That is let's see. It looks like last year's award winner, by the way, was Kalen DeBear from Washington. But trying to think, I don't see a timeline here. Must be coming up. I imagine
during the playoffs, one of those playoff games, they'll give it.
Yeah.
They then have a Home Depot Coach of the Year, which was Kurt Signetti,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The Jim Thorpe Award, which is always the best defensive back, was given to the safety of Texas, Jahdae Barron, who
Barron,
was
yeah.
just tremendous,
Yeah, that guy's he's top notch. Top notch.
right? The John Mackey Award goes to the Penn State tight end, Tyler Warren. The guy was a beast.
He was, man. We'll talk about him later in our picks, but
Get a
yeah,
load
that
of
good
this,
season.
Andy. The Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award given to the top upperclassman, the top senior in the class was Shador
Yeah.
Sanders.
Yeah, I saw that.
You
I did
did?
see that. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Now, the Lombardi Award, is this the guy who I told you was hurt during the Texas game and is a freshman? Kelvin Banks Jr.? Can't be. Can't be win the Lombardi Award as a freshman, could you?
I wouldn't think so. I would think it goes to no, he's a junior left tackle.
Oh,
Kelvin Banks. Yeah, the junior. Football's most outstanding lineman.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
going to be a top 10 pick, maybe a top 5 pick, Andy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't his let's see what his I don't think I got his. If I can get a quick stat line on this dude.
How many sacks did he give up, any?
Let's see. He beat out, blah, 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 blah. 37 games at left tackle over 3 seasons, giving up only 3 sacks in his career.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Pretty good is right. Obviously, the Ronnie Lott Award for the 5th award of the day goes to Travis Hunter.
Yeah, he cleaned up. He
did.
Yeah.
And, I kept telling you the best place kicker in the country was the guy from Pitt.
Yeah.
He didn't win. It's the Lou Graza Award.
Yeah, Lou Graza.
And he didn't win. Some guy from Louisiana, Kenneth Amenderes.
Really? Wow, okay.
Won.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and obviously the Maxwell Award went to Genty.
Yeah.
Outland Trophy went to Kevin Banks. So Kevin Banks not only won the Lombardi Award, which is the outstanding lineman, either offense or defense, whereas the Outland Trophy is the top interior lineman.
Okay.
Right?
All
and
right.
he won that one. The Paul Horning Award, which is the most versatile because Paul Horning, I believe, was a two-way player. Travis Hunter won that one.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ray Guy Award, who I love Ray Guy, he's the only punter ever to go in the first round, is the punter from USC, Eddie Sizapilic.
Really? Well, that's tells you something about their offense this year, I guess. But anyhow.
And the Walter Camp Award, the College Player of the Year, for the 7th award is Travis Hunter.
Enamored. People are enamored with Hollywood.
They are. And, I don't want you to feel slighted, but your boy, who you thought would win the Heisman, won the William V. Campbell Trophy Award, which is the academic Heisman, Jalen Milroe.
Oh, wow. There we go. Good for him. Well, I was close. The academic Heisman. We'll take it. Well, lots of award winners, outstanding performances for the year, tremendous kids, athletes, etc. Now to the coaches that coach these talented players. Boy, we've seen some movement here, Mark, and we've got a couple openings that I think have filled, but at the time of putting our run sheet together, which would have been the end of last week, you had 24 total openings that were highlighted. But how about some of the top placements that's happened in the last week? And boy, this first one, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out down in the land of the Blue Heels. But old Belichick going to the Tar Heels, take over for Mac Brown.
Andy, I told you what a disappointing season they had. And
Yeah.
obviously most of the disappointing seasons ended up on this list as they should have.
Yeah.
But this was a shocker, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I was at first, it was felt like a bit of a rumor mill and, maybe just people throwing some stuff out on social media. But yeah, now the thing that's interesting, if you looked at, I think I have my facts correct, but it's a 2-year deal. So it's not a 10-year deal. And I suspect it is, there are some I suspect his objectives over that 2-year period are a bit different than a couple of his counterparts who we'll talk about here. Right. But I'm pretty sure he's only got, it's 5 years, first 30 million guaranteed. So yeah, we'll see, man. I just, who knows? Guys have been a football genius. He's been, and I saw this when they announced it. He's been coaching football. He's been coaching football for 50 years.
He's
50 years, dude.
72 years old.
50.
He started as a grad assistant.
He's been coaching almost as long as you've been alive, man. Like that's
yeah,
easy, bro.
He's been coaching longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, it is. He has. That's right. That's right. But wow. So we got Belichick at UNC. We've got a boomerang happening at UCF, right? With Frost heading back there and old Rich Rod going back to the Mountaineers.
So that's right. They both are returning coaches that had great success with those programs, right?
Yeah, I know. It was interesting too. Both of them kind of gave sentiments in their speeches to the effect of, I think Frost said something to the effect, it's good to understand and recognize when you're happy, and sometimes being happy, doesn't necessarily equate to big success and moving to a big program. So I think he was reflecting on his decision to leave and go to Nebraska. And then Rodriguez, I think, did the same thing. He said he was happy to be back, and whether or not he was appealing to fans or whomever, but he said he should have never. So sometimes that's what it takes, going to check out the other side of the hill and realize that the one you left was better than the one you're standing on. So
yeah, the grass isn't always greener, Andy.
Yeah, and then we got the Marshall head coach heading at Southern Miss, and then rumor has it that Barry Odom, who's heading to Purdue, boy, that must be one heck of a deal. I don't know what the details of his deal are, but I guess if you're a head coach and you look at the last 2 seasons at Purdue, you figure I can't do much worse. So
plus he's getting into a huge conference, and it's an opportunity for him to prove himself. He had a stellar career at UNLV. Me and you have said they were a good team. They were well coached. What I think to me that was surprising, and I don't know if you're aware, but when this guy left Marshall pulled out of the bowl because all the players decided to transfer.
Yeah, that was Huff. That was Charlie Huff who left
Marshall.
Yeah.
And now Louisiana is playing Army.
Yeah.
In whatever is the Independence Bowl?
I'm pretty sure it's the Independence Bowl. Yeah, I know. Yeah, my understanding is at least what I was reading. I think I got that. I think that happened on Saturday, but it sounded like a bit of a protest. So I don't know if this is necessarily mutual, him leaving Marshall, but it sounded like all the players entering the portal was a bit of a protest. So there must have been some friction there.
Andy, you have to push this all off until the end of bowl season, until the end of the national championship, so that these games are as pure as the regular season.
Yeah, I don't I don't disagree with you, man. You got to you got to ring fence it, and now you got to, I don't know. I mean, I think the argument, as we were going back and forth on text early this morning before the sun came up, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, I think what I said to you is they should close this off. Transfer portal should not open until January 1st, and then after that, then players should be able to enter. But if you hold off too long until after the national title, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. If you wait till February 1st, is that too late for kids to visit and make a decision? I don't think so. If they're starting in the fall, and I know there's all kinds of spring ball and spring training and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I'm with you, man. It's just a distraction, like an unnecessary, unneeded reaction. Now, the reality is most of the kids entering the portal are not, with the exception of a few, majority of them are not leaving playoff teams, obviously, right? Because they want to maximize that exposure and have a chance to, stand out and have a stellar performance. And all of a sudden, then they'll leave, once they lose or they continue to win out. And, hell, a solid performance in one game could be the difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
In today's world, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. So anyhow, lots of opening positions left. No real big names that we have on the list yet. I think we'll see more movement once the season is over. But a lot's happening, folks, in college football landscape. And but the event we've all been waiting for is the first round of college football playoffs, and Mark and I are going to get into our picks of the first 4 games. So stay tuned and take your beverage break, your restroom break, whatever you need to, and scurry right back, because we are going to talk through and make our picks for the first 4 games of the 2024 college football playoff. So we'll be right back. Let's go. Here we go, Mark. This is what we've been waiting for all season, man. All season is to get this sucker rolling, man. 12 team playoff, right? Which may be short lived. I'm hearing, I got to read up, but it sounds pretty certain that they're going to move to 14 or 16 in 2026, I think.
Andy, this is going to go the way of March Madness.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You're going to have 18, 24 teams. It's just, the money's too great.
Yeah, I know. And the excitement, I don't know if you caught last night in Division I men's soccer, but the Vermont, what's the University of Vermont's mascot? Any idea?
I do not know.
The Catamount. The Catamount became Division I national champs last night in a thrilling overtime winner, and they were I don't even think they were ranked. So again, the benefits of a playoff system, right? Team that probably would not have been playing for the title if it was a much smaller group that was vying for that national championship, but nonetheless, they got a crack and they took advantage of it. So here we are, man. 4 teams, and we start out right here in the home state, where I'm sitting about a 2-hour drive south of South Bend, where the first playoff game kicks off 8:00 Eastern. The state championship, as some are calling it, Mark. IU, Indiana University, taking on the University of Notre Dame.
Yep, I just got off the phone with my boss, who will be braving the weather on Friday night. And I told him he's not to come back without a memento for me for the state championship, so I can wear it proudly during my meetings in Indy and
on this broadcast
in February. So I am hoping to come away with some sort of very unique memento T-shirt that hopefully one day I will show on this nice program that we have here.
What do you think about the game? What do you think about the matchup?
You know what, Andy? If it was early on in the season, I would have a different pick
Okay.
than I do today. But
Okay.
one of these teams is playing better and better and better and better. Their ranking keeps going up. They're just at home this week. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot see Notre Dame losing this game. I
You're
think they
taking
beat Indiana.
the Fighting Irish, huh?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. What about
Okay.
you?
Well, I've got all kinds of fun facts for you and our listeners. I actually was able to do a bit of homework on these picks since we didn't have a lineup of 15 or 18 we normally have. But the kind of the headliner I got for this is Paper Tigers question mark question mark.
Okay.
You've got the lowest strength of schedule for both teams in a first round matchup, both Notre Dame and IU. Uh, Notre Dame, IU is strength of schedule is 67th.
Hmm.
That strength of schedule was over 100 before they played Ohio State. So they dropped like 40 spots in terms of strength of schedule after playing Ohio State. They were above 100, and Notre Dame is 57th. So those two strength of schedules represent the worst and the weakest of any team. I think any team in the
In
playoffs,
playoff.
certainly in the first round
Yeah.
by a landslide, right? So the stats that I'm going to kind of quote and I use to kind of help shape my view. Again, Paper Tigers. So Notre Dame, third in the country against the pass. They're only allowing 158 yards a game in the air. They're third in the country in terms of total points allowed at just under 14. And they're 50th against the run, give up 140 a game. IU are ninth in the country against the pass, giving up 174 yards a game. First in the country, I did not know this, the number one run defense, 70 yards a game is all they've given up, and sixth in the country in terms of total points allowed. So when you take into strength of schedule, is my point, what kind of offenses have they been playing, right? So I just be careful about those stats if you're considering those. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Notre Dame's 10th in the country on its running attack, averages 225 a game. It's pretty solid. Passing attack is 101st, so nothing to write home about. And IU is 51st in rushing and 28th in passing. So clearly the defensive side of the ball here, those stats and where they sit in relative to the country, the other teams in the country put them at the top of the list. But again, go look at their schedules, both of them, and see who they played, and that's contributing to those stats, which are then driving the rank. Big one for me, which is leading me to my picks, to my pick in this one. Record against the top 25. What's Notre Dame's record against top 25 teams this year? Take a guess at that.
2-0?
4-0.
4-0.
10-game win streak.
Yeah.
IU 0-1.
0-1. Yeah.
That's right. And
0-1?
What's that?
0-1, right?
Yeah, 0-1. They only played Ohio State.
Yeah.
In that Ohio State game, IU was manhandled. Rourke had 68 yards in the air, negative 33 yards rushing, and they had 83 yards on the ground as a team. 3 fumbles, lost 1, and gave up 110 yards in punt or kick returns. Lost all 3 phases of the game. And I've got 2 games in the slate this week, Mark, where I have conviction in my pick. Like, there are stats and there are numbers, but there are 2 games that the teams that I'm picking, they are not going to lose. Like, it's just not going to happen. And the coaches know that. The players know it. And I don't care what stats you throw out again, it's just not going to happen. And one of those games is this game. Notre Dame is going to beat IU, and I think they're going to beat them handily. So
Me too.
I
I think it's
apologize
gonna
to
be
all the Hoosiers fans, but you're going to go up and freeze your rear ends off and still be riding the wave of the Signetti smoke. But Hoosiers haven't played anybody. When they did play somebody, they got torched, man, and they got torched in an environment that is going to be as intense and energetic and hyper and distracting, if not more so, in South Bend. And the weather is going to be a factor like it was against Ohio State, right? So I think Notre Dame wins and wins convincingly in this one.
I do too, but again, I think it's a stepping stone. The guy's building a program at IU. They had a great year.
Yeah.
And it'll be a learning experience, Andy.
Be a growth opportunity, as we call it in our industry. Right?
There you go. See that?
That's right, a growth opportunity. All right, let's move to the second game. We're going to move. That was the 7 and 10 seed for those that are watching, or if you're listening. Notre Dame's a 7. I use a 10. We'll move. We're going to move down the board to the 6 and the 11. Interesting game here in Happy Valley. Mustang SMU traveling northeast to what looks to be another game that could be impacted by some weather and some snow falling, but Southern Methodist University at the Penn State University. What do you think of this game, Mark?
Andy, I'm a lifelong Penn State fan.
I know.
I'm not a big fan of Franklin. I don't like it. Franklin. I never liked them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Where'd he come from? Temple?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think he was the coach at Temple. He didn't have no big resume.
Yeah.
You know, I'm concerned. This is an upset alert. SMU's got a high-priced roster on their hands. I think this is going to be a close game, but I think Penn State beats them in a last-minute field goal. Where is Franklin from?
He came from Vanderbilt.
Yep. Another 2013.
This is his 10th year at Penn State.
Yeah. I got news for you. They lose this game or they don't go deep in the playoff, they're going to can them.
Ooh, big call. Big call.
Yeah, but I think Penn State wins the opening round.
Yeah.
Barely.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm with you on I think it's going to be a good game. So this one, kind of how I sum this one up is a couple higher powered offenses. Southern Methodist, they're 6th in the country for average points a game, 29 a game. I think Penn State's averaging 33. SMU 20th for total offense, over 400 yards a game. 26 in the passing game, over 300 yards a game. Kevin Jennings, starting QB for SMU, had over 3,000 yards in the air, 22 tuds, 8 picks. And on the ground, they're 50th. They rush for almost 100 yards a game on the dot. And Brashard Smith, starting running back, this kid had 1,270 yards and 14 touchdowns. So they can bring the ball. Penn State, we saw what they could do offensively against Oregon too, in a bit of a shootout there. But they're 5th overall, I believe, in total points. Like I said, 34, not 33 a game. 15th in total offense, just under 450 yards a game. 41st in the passing game. At 250 a game, Drew Allers thrown for almost 2,900 yards, 21 tuds, 7 picks. And they're 19th in rushing. Now, I think Singleton's been banged up a little bit throughout the year, so his stats probably a bit misleading at only 840 yards and 7 touchdowns. But to me, the real story of this game and the offense for Penn State, we talked about him earlier, number 44, Tyler Warren. 1,062 yards receiving, my friend, from the tight end position, and 6 touchdowns. And I do believe one of those touchdowns was a passing touchdown against the USC, I think. So he's the difference maker. I think if SMU is going to win this game, they got to shut him down. Record against the top 25, SMU's 2-1, Penn State's 1-2. Strength of schedule, SMU's 64th and Penn State 38th. Well, this is my upset of the week, my friend. I think SMU goes into Happy Valley and they get it done. I think they're going to have too much offense on the ball. They lost a close one to Clemson. Penn State's coming off a loss to Oregon State, but did put points on the board. But I think Franklin continues the trend of not being able to win the big one. And I think the Mustangs roll in and pull off a bit of a first round upset and go on to take how about that, the Mustangs versus the Broncos in this next round. So the winner plays Boise State, but so I'm taking SMU in this game.
Okay.
Yeah, so a bit of an upset. Next, we'll move across the board here. 3 versus 12. Texas, Clemson traveling to Texas. Sarkisian taking on Dabo. And boy, talk about an interesting matchup. We've got probably one of the most progressive, aggressive team programs in the country when it comes to transfer portal and NIL in Texas, and we have the antithesis of that with Clemson. And here they are facing off in the first round of the playoff. What do you think here?
This is a redemption game. They were embarrassed in the SEC championship by Georgia. They thought that they were going to win it. They believe the hype. This is a redemption game at home, and I believe Texas gets it done.
Okay, the Longhorns at home. I think they are 11 or 11 and a half point favorite for all you odds makers out there. So this is the widest spread of any of the games. Interestingly enough, every single game is a touchdown or greater for the home teams, all of the home teams, which that just like that somehow is going to get disrupted. And I think SMU is going to be the one to do that. So this one's interesting. This is an offense versus a defense, right? So in terms of matchups, so the Longhorns defense, third in the country overall in terms of total yards allowed per game, less than 250 a game. They're number one against the passing attack, 143 yards they allow in the air, and they're 14th against the ground game, only 107 yards allowed in a game. So 250 of total offense, that's pretty low in college football. So that defense will be a key for the Longhorns. Clemson's offense is the stronger of, they're both sides of the ball there. They're 12th in total offense. They put up 455 yards a game, 17th through the air with, Klubnik. And so they're averaging 275 and then 181 on the ground overall in terms of, their rushing, which isn't too shabby. So this is going to be a relatively strong and high-powered offense versus a very strong defense. So I think this will be a bit of a slugfest. Texas's offense is no slouch, 18th in total offense, 445 a game, 13th in the passing game, just under 300, and 64th on the ground. Versus top 25, Clemson's 1-2, Texas is 4-2. Strength of schedule, Texas is 15th, Clemson's 54th. I'm with you, my friend. I'm going Longhorns. I think just too strong. Of course, I got burnt by this twice now against Georgia, but Clemson is not Georgia. We saw that first game of the year, and I think Texas gets it done, and they make their way to the next round of the playoffs. There you have it. Two picks for the Longhorns. Final matchup on Saturday. I think this is a Saturday night game, I think. How about this environment, man? This is going to be just as good as Friday night environment in South Bend. But Saturday night at the Horseshoe, Tennessee rolling into town to take on the Buckeyes. Big matchup here, man. Big matchup.
Andy, you talk about redemption. If he loses, he's getting canned. He's out of a job, regardless. He lost the stench of the lingering stench of that Michigan loss is haunting this man. And to your point, the Horseshoe on a Saturday night is going to be ravaging. And Nico, he's just a kid, 17 years old. The moment is going to be too big for him, and he's going to get swallowed up by the Ohio State defense, who's just too good. And Jeremiah Smith is going to have a breakout game at wide receiver, and Ohio State is going to prevail.
Go Bucks, huh?
Yeah.
Well, this is they say defense wins championships. We'll find out, my friend. We'll find out. Ohio State defense is the best defense statistically of all the teams in the first round. Close with IU, but again, strength of schedule slightly different between those two teams. I'm being a bit facetious, folks. Total yards per game, Ohio State ranks number 1 in the country. They only allow 241 yards a game. So right up at the top of that list. They are second against the passing attack, 144 yards a game. I think that they've got the top secondary in college football, and certainly the top secondary in the playoff, those teams in the playoff. And they're 7th against the rush. They only allow 97 yards a game. So this Ohio State defense is stacked, and that's going to be tough to match. Tennessee's defense, no slouch either. They're 4th in terms of total offense allowed, allowing 278 yards a game, 17th in passing, 180 a game, and then 8th in rushing, just under 100 yards a game. So this is a battle of defenses, and I think this one comes down to which offenses and special teams make the most mistakes. Right? Again, I think defense is going to win this game, and in order for Tennessee to win, they're going to have to run the ball. They're 9th in terms of rushing. They average 233 on the ground. To your point, Nico's young. They're 62nd in passing offense, only throwing for 231 yards a game. So that running game, both Nico's going to have to use his legs and that backfield. But I just think Ohio State's going to be too much. Tennessee is 3-1 against top 25 teams. Ohio State's 2-1. Strength of schedule, Tennessee is 49th, Ohio State's 23rd. But again, I told you I had 2 games of conviction. This is my second one. Ohio State's not losing this game. They're not losing this game at home. I don't care who they're playing. They will be dialed in and they'll be ready to go. They win big games. They certainly and they tend to lose games they shouldn't lose. But I just would not want to face this defense and this team in the playoffs. And Ohio State beats Tennessee. And boy, then we get to see in the second round, second time lucky, I guess. We'll get to see the rematch between Oregon and Ohio State. But yeah, Buckeyes win at home. So there you have it, folks. Mark and I are consistent on 3 of the 4 games, pick the same winners, all the home teams, and then we're diverging on Penn State SMU game, which is a noon kickoff, unfortunately, on Saturday. But so we'll see how those fare. So we hope you're as excited as we are and have been to get to this time of the year. But boy, saddle up, buckle up, warm up, wherever you may be Friday night, whether you're in the stands or in front of a screen or traveling, you got it on audio. But 8:00 kickoff. Here we go. College football playoff. Starts off in the home state of the Hoosiers and the Irish. So another great week, folks. We will be back next week with the results and breakdown of first round college football playoff games. Maybe sneak a few bowl games in there that happened if we got anything interesting and unique. And we may maybe next week we'll do the Saturday Sensei our awards. We'll hand out some awards for the season next week. So tune in next week for that and our second round picks. So stay safe and enjoy Friday night and all day Saturday. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.